Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Below the 38. This is episode 35, the weekend that was. I'm Andrew, joined by Luke and Mike, and it's our regular Monday, Tuesday night slot where we talk about the events of the previous weekend. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, fine. Not bad. A bit bored.
Yeah, he's a bit bored because Wednesday we have a day off. Wednesday is election day. Have you guys decided who you're going to vote for yet?
I'm going to vote for the Blue and Black Party.
They throw bottles. What about you, Mike?
I'm going to vote for anyone who's willing to dissolve Ansan.
These elections also have some meaning for K-League fans because most of the clubs, or a lot of the clubs in K-League 1 and K-League 2, and obviously below that too, but we just, let's stick with K-League 1 and K-League 2 for now, are owned by local city halls, and you could have a very sympathetic mayoral office at the moment that loves the football team, for example in Anyang, and then perhaps a new mayor comes in or a new city council comes in and perhaps the same love for the football club is not there. Whereas there are examples of other cities in Korea where perhaps the mayoral office isn't as interested in the football team, but if there's a shift on Wednesday, then perhaps that particular football club could have a brand new mayor who absolutely loves football. So let's wait and see how that one works out.
That is on the agenda in Goyang, actually. One of the candidates has a manifesto to establish a professional team again.
Mm. It's also on the manifesto of a couple of different cities. There are things like stadiums, especially multi-purpose ones with roofs, domes, all this kind of stuff. So yeah, the talk of stadiums and setting up new clubs does feature heavily, or does feature anyway, in Korean local elections, where I'm pretty sure where I come from, they don't, because these people will have very, very little influence on the state of the professional game, whatever sport it is. Anyway, we can we'll find out results at some other point, and maybe if anything interesting comes up, we can mention it on this show. Check out our website, below the 38korea.com. It is a bit clunky, but I'll leave a link to it in the description, below the 38korea.com. You will see some new articles have gone up in the last week or so, especially around the Korea Cup, the Women's Korea Cup, the inaugural Women's Korea Cup, and also stadium guides to Ansanwa Stadium and Daegu Forest Park, as was previously known. So check out our website, below the 38korea.com. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at below the 38. So K-League 1 is still off. They will not return until the weekend of July 4th. K-League 2 has 1 weekend left. So the penultimate weekend has just come and gone. And here is Mike with the roundup.
Okie dokie then, well, let's start from the top, because it's Busan. They're now 5 points clear after a thumping 4-1 win over Paju to make that long trip back to the frontier all the longer for the Paju fans. 28 goals now for the fourth Hyundai team. I'm not sure how you rank that one, actually. There's quite a lot of Hyundai teams in Korea, aren't there? I must admit, I've noticed that the success this season is getting quite derided about them having no history and all that, but actually they're the second longest historic running club in Korean football, and of course they've stayed in that region at the very least. So they may not have the big crowds, etc., but there's potential there for a bit of history if they want to lead into that. So maybe it is Busan's time. There'll be a Champions League in 2 years, as every other club seems to say. But anyway, on to second, because of course, always chasing them this season. It's been Seoul E-Land a second. What's happened to the Blue Wings? Well, helmet alerts have been issued in Suwon as toys have been flying out of the Big Bird. Just what is going on over there? Well, the Mokdongers themselves, they left it late in Gwangyang, but a late goal from some guy called Alan saw Eland's fans as far away as Thailand come dancing out of the bathrooms. The thing is, a lot of people predicted Eland to actually possibly even top the league this season, but they've actually been underperforming, to be honest, overall. We may have a lot more to see from Eland, and that must be of great concern to the denizens of the Big Bird, actually, because Eland are in those promotion spots. Now, actually, and I'm sure we'll get onto this on the K2 preview because it is a big one, but it's got to be mentioned. Next round, third plays fourth, and this should be keeping Blue Wing fans fully up at night, and we'll talk about this later as well. because the Owls, they downed whatever bird Suwon actually. What is the blue wing bird supposed to be? I don't know. But anyway, so Asan took a 2-goal lead with a fine performance from Denison Silva. Then Rice pulled one back 10 minutes from time, but the customary 10 minutes of added time could not be utilised to success by the Blue Wings this round. Meanwhile, Chowdhury, they are the team in fourth. His men marched to within a point of the Blue Wings with a professional dispatching of Gyeongnam. Again, Hwasong, fourth. And I don't just mean how many kilometres to the pitch from the stands. And we've been talking about them, haven't we? But Gimpo, they've risen up to fifth. 3 points off the automatic promotion spots themselves. They saw off a Gimhae side that, frankly speaking, and this is keeping me up at night, they put in another good performance. And they actually went toe-to-toe with Gimpo throughout that game. And had they won it, it wouldn't have been a bit of much of a shock, at least based on that game themselves. Gimhae actually drew level through Maisa Fall after the league, and they really did plenty to win that game, but Luan Diaz, he sprung up again to win it for the second best shade of green in the K2 and made Gimpo very much part of that promotion conversation. Now, early season promotion favourites Daegu and Suwon FC, they've dropped to 6 and 7s. Why? Because they failed to win this weekend. They're both on 22 points, Suwon drawing with Songnam and Daegu being held at Yongin 1-1. So Asan's defeat of the Blue Wings does see them clinging on to some sort of relevance this season on 19 points as well, just 3 shy of the playoffs. And Cheonan are one back in 9th. They're 4 points off the playoffs as they visited the Bank of Ansan to withdraw 3 points with a 3-1 win on Sunday evening. I guess there'll be more on that later if we have to. Cheongju didn't win again, but actually they didn't play this round, so there we go. Now Andrew's going to come at you with a table, but just a quick point here, because actually I'm not picking on the Blue Wings by digging them out there a lot, but they really should be getting out of this league, and now they're in a huge and quite real fight for those automatic promotion spots, and to be honest, they've been digging themselves out of so many games this season. At last minute, etc. Some fans have said there's been some controversies in those victories. I don't see Blue Wings going into games with great confidence to win. Something's got to change in that break, in the World Cup break, or it's going to be another season in the K2 for them. So, Andrew, I'll let you take it from here.
Well, let's go to the table first. Why not? You've already kind of run through it anyway, but Busan do hold a 5-point cushion at the top, 5-point gap at the top over Seoul E-Land, who I did tip. Even recently, I did tip Seoul E-Land to win this championship ahead of the Blue Wings. I still don't think Busan are going to hang on there. I don't know how many matches I'm going to have to say that before egg is comprehensively thrown in my face. They are, as I said, 5 points clear. And then at the bottom, Gimhae, unfortunate. They lost to an extremely good goal by Luan, 10 minutes from time for Gimpo. Gimpo, by the way, if you're interested, they have played 13 matches. They've won 6 of those and drawn 5. They've only lost 2 games all season. And what makes that more remarkable is that all of those 13 games have been away from home. They return to Salto this weekend to take on Jeonnam Dragons. I just thought I'd bring this up before I have a little bit of a rant about the Blue Wings, but attendances are pretty interesting across K-League 2. And I say this as somebody who wants to see the Blue Wings as well. 4,280 Blue Wings fans showed up to see them losing against Jeonnam Asan, which I just think is absolutely hilarious. 4,280 is more than the combined total of every other away fan group in the league at the weekend. So when you just think about that, 4,280 fans have shown up, which is more than Seoul E-Land, Daegu, Paju, Songnam, Gyeongnam, Cheonan, and Gimpo put together. It's more than double. It's more than double what they had. 81 Seoul E-Land fans made the visit to Gwanyang, but as Mike was saying, some of them were watching from a bathroom in Thailand. So yeah, as for the Blue Wings, it's absolutely miserable. I noticed the manager, Lee Jong-ho, said we need some time. He's probably not wrong about that, because it is basically a new team and they don't have a striker and it's a new management team. But what I do find also funny, not just about the fact that 4,200 people watched them lose in Jeonnam Asan at the weekend, is that they've only managed to score 3 goals more than Chumbuk Cheongju, who haven't actually won a match yet this season. I think if you're looking for one area that highlights how brutally awful the Blue Wings are, that's it. They had 17 shots on goal at the weekend. Only 3 were on target. I think maybe you guys will disagree. I think we've gone past the LOL stage of how awful Suwon are, and I think this is genuinely pathetic now. On an individual basis, the LOL moments will come out. If you're a Cheongnam Asan fan and you beat the Blue Wings 2-1, you can LOL at that one for sure. This could be the highlight of your season. Remains to be seen. Hwasong will definitely have a nice laugh if they pick up 3 points and go above the Blue Wings at the weekend. But I think this is I don't even think this is borderline pathetic. This is genuinely pathetic. 3 losses in 13 matches in K-League 2. And I return to the point to be making all season. When they started the season well in terms of results, but performances were dreadful. They celebrated like they had won K-League 2 back in February and March with narrow wins over teams that either didn't exist before or playing their first ever season at this level. And now it all begins to look very, very silly. So there we go. I think the Blue Wings are awful. They're so awful to watch. It's depressing. They don't have a goal scorer. Kim Ji-yeon's out for the season. He wasn't even having a good season anyway. They're relying on Stanislav Ilichenko. He scored 1 goal since October. This is, I think this is pathetic. I think this is really, really bad. But it's also very amusing, I'm sure.
It's quite striking.
I mean, what are the chances of him going out and picking a striker up from like one of the other K-League 2 teams? Because coming into this World Cup break, you've got like Hassan, you've got Sava Petrov, you've got Frizzo at the other Suwon team. Do they have the money to go and nick one of the competitor strikers? I mean, you look at Gimpo. Gimpo are doing well and they're scoring late on and picking up wins where you wouldn't expect them to do. And like Louis Mina is scoring, and I think he's got a great header at the weekend. The first goal for Gimpo. Like, why don't Blue Wings go and buy somebody from the opposition?
Because they have done this before. Like, they brought in Fashion from Busan, and now Busan are well ahead of the Blue Wings. They brought in Rice from Gwangju. I know they're K-League 1 as opposed to K-League 2, but he's probably been their best player, but he's not. He hasn't been great. I think it's the worrying thing is the fact that absolutely everybody looks awful or mediocre at best. They tried to bring in Valdivia a couple of seasons ago. That was the rumor, and John Am took that negotiation pretty badly, and they were delighted to pip the Blue Wings in the end for promotion in their first season. I don't know where they're going to get a player. Like, Luis Mina is a really good player, but I think it's interesting that he's still at Gimpo after all these years. He's also not an out-and-out goal scorer. They clearly need a number 9, and they really lack it. They already have, like, the likes of Paulinho and Rice and Ghost and Bomb to a slightly lesser extent. They already have those guys who can play just off the forward. They don't have a striker. There is no recognised number 9 in that squad. So I don't see how they're going to get one in K-League 2. Who's going to sell a player in K-League 1? You're not going to bring in Mota just because he might be sitting on the bench now for Jeonbuk. I think they have to go abroad. And the only way they'll find a striker is by leaving the country. So I'd say that the resources, I think, will be there. And I'd imagine they're fully aware that they need to fix this hole. So we'll see. But one thing I would like to say as well, it's just about Lee Jong-yo, the manager, because we are going to talk about Chadri later. This is obviously not on him because they've been terrible for multiple seasons now. But there has to be that little bit of a concern in the back of your mind. Like, we're not writing him off, not saying he should lose his job, blah, blah. They gave him a 5-year deal. But it's a cautionary tale for a lot of these managers when they're coming from the underdog team with no resources and they get players of that kind of quality that they want to buy into their methods, to punch above their weight and to achieve things they probably never thought they could achieve. But he's got a squad with several Korean internationals in it, and again, he could turn out to be the greatest manager of all time they've ever had. But the slight concern there will always be his level was going to be Gwangju, where he only had to play one style of football. If they lose 5-0 to Jeonbuk, it doesn't matter because the games against Jeonbuk are not the games that determine their season or define their season. But now he's expected to win. He's expected to win in style. He's expected to get promoted. And I'd say he's under a massive amount of pressure already.
Yeah, and he doesn't really seem to have like a plan B. So when things aren't working, when he sets a team out and things aren't working, and they don't, it's like, well, what does he do? And it's like you can see him getting frustrated, but he's already playing what he perceives as his best 11, and they should be winning, and they're not. So I think he needs to come up with, I don't know, a backup plan, because he can't find himself after the World Cup break. He can't find himself in this position continually where like Blue Wings are either drawing games or losing games and find themselves further and further off the beat. I mean, E-Land have gone ahead of them now in the table based on goals scored, because Suwon have only scored for 18 goals. But they have played a game less than E-Land, so there is that to consider. But still, it's not. You'd expect Blue Wings to be on top, or at least closer to first place going into the break.
It's awful.
Has there been any more talk of Valdivia at Jeonnam? Because obviously there was the social media for a few weeks ago, but is the time now to go back for him? Or?
But I think they already have that type of a player, and maybe they have too many of those players. I think Paulinho's another guy that they brought in who was really successful with a poor enough Cheonan team with Bruno Mata. And then he hasn't really looked like the same player, and we've kind of seen this before as well. Or players have looked better when they've left Suwon, like John Janu, for example. I think Valdivia, I did see a rumour, I don't know how accurate this is, but I did see a rumour linking him with Jumbo Hyundai Motors. Now, if they're coming and looking for you, and so are the Blue Wings, it's got to be one of the easiest decisions you're going to make all season. I think the ship has sailed on that. I think it's absolutely a central striker that they need badly. And I don't see anybody in K-League 1 or K-League 2 who they'll either be able to get or is probably going to meet the criteria that they're looking for.
I do enjoy their excuse. New manager, new team. That's the words of a perennial mid-table K2 club every year. So, stay a while, I guess.
Yeah. At this point, they'd leave you with no confidence they're going to get out of it, because so E-Land have now overtaken them, albeit with a game in hand, and I think they're just going to get better. And I think that they would win this championship overall. And as long as Busan can maintain any sort of a points difference, when you're not scoring any goals to make up the gap. A friend of mine was at the game, and it's true when you watch these Blue Wings games, when they have so much possession, and it's just like Luke was saying about a plan B. It's the same thing over and over again. And I know a lot of K-League clubs do the same thing. It's a lot of sideways and backwards passes, 1 yard here, 1 yard there, whatever. It's very slow, it's very pedestrian. But when you don't break a team down, you should be breaking down. They started the season well defensively, but they're not defending well anymore. And it's inevitable. It's like last season. It's inevitable they're going to concede. And then yet again they conceded first, and then you're chasing the game, and then they conceded again. The game is over. So in some ways it has memories of 2 seasons ago, or at least last season they were scoring loads of goals, but they're just conceding far too many, and they're not scoring enough. So I think if you were predicting the final spots now, first and second, I don't think you can confidently say they're going to finish first or second.
No. It'd be an outside chance, I think, at the minute.
Yeah. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. I can't wait till the World Cup break comes over so we can stop bothering with this crap. And then hopefully it'll be a little bit better from July the 4th onwards. The matches we went to, only one of us went to a match this weekend. So you've done a lot of talking on today's show. Keep going, Mike.
Indeed. Actually, since we last met, I've been to 2, but let's start with a miserable one. Ansan won Cheonan 3. That was last night. So glad I went there. It's actually my 100th game, so I got a frame ticket, which is lovely. I'll be using that as a doorstop, I think. I did. Ansan did fail to get to 200 goals conceded in 100. They came very close, which I might share some statistics of a little. Maybe it's too cheesy to publish, but I'll put a little video together about the stresses of the previous, since 2017. And out of those 100, I've only seen Ansan win 19 times. Glorious. Absolutely glorious. However, thankfully, we've got Jeonnam and Gimhae. But I know Gimhae getting better, but as long as they just stay bad. But I do predict that Cheongju will finish above Ansan without winning a game. So you heard it here first.
Sorry, one more time. They're on a 5-game losing streak, is that right?
Yeah. The sad thing is,
this is the type of form we saw last season. They're the only team with a run of kind of results like that. So it does feel like it's heading back towards 2025 Ansan era.
Yeah, well, the potential replacement in the K2 would be Shihung, and they played in that. Yeah, I think I put an article up on the website about that mysterious championship that appeared, and I have Shihung as an alert on several football apps, and they don't have the K3, K4 championship on there. I only found it through Footballogy out of random browsing. So there's a bit of I put an article up about that experience on the website, but it's a good chance to talk about Shihung in the K3 because they didn't actually win this weekend. Big shock. They were held by Temang Mokpo, so Ansan's potential opponents in the relegation playoff could be Pocheon because they've closed the gap to 6 points, or Busan Gyotong because they are just another point behind after beating Jeonbuk 2. I would have rather been in Incheon on Saturday evening as Suwon FC. So we put a lot up on the website about their experience being knocked out of the Champions League semi-finals. But yeah, they came back very angry, it seems, and destroyed Incheon Red Angels 4-0. That's one of the other Hyundai teams, by the way. Reigning champions Hwacheon stayed top after they beat Boeun Sangmu, but yeah, Suwon FC, I think it's going to be their year in the WK League.
WK League, W Korea Cup for the first time ever as well. So it seems like every match, unfortunately for a spectator point of view, but every game in the W Korea Cup is going to be held at Icheon in a small city, a rural countryside area with a small little, I don't know how to say, like commercial area in Gyeonggi-do. They have a stadium with a running track that holds about 15,000 people, and all the W Korea Cup games are going to be held there. So make it that what you want. They are pumping a good bit of money into it, so it seems like that's the reason why those matches are going to Icheon. But it's a good opportunity to see a new stadium. I've never been to the stadium in Icheon, and with several matches, many matches take place there, there has to be an opportunity to do so. Luke and I weren't at games this weekend. I was busy with family stuff. I don't know what Luke's excuse was, other than just being bored. If you had to have picked a game to have gone to in K-League 2, where would you wish you were?
Definitely Suwon FC versus Songnam. Classic 0-0. No, I'm joking. I would have been down watching Cheongnam Asan and Suwon Blue Wings. I would have been part of the Cheongnam Asan end. It's always fun to watch Blue Wings lose, even though they're constantly doing it. Yeah, they had so much of the ball and they had so many chances, but Cheongnam defended really well. They scored with their only 2 shots on target, which is incredible as well. I do wonder if at the end of the game the Cheongnam team were dancing with balloons and sunglasses on and things, or if they were just leaving that to when they beat a bigger team. It's interesting because that win moves them 7 points behind Blue Wings as well, and the way that both teams are playing, you wouldn't roll out maybe them swapping places at some point.
That game, by the way, took place at 4:30 p.m. again, and it was boiling hot. Stadium with no roof. It looked pretty miserable. I'd like to have been down to Gimhae. Gimhae won. Gimhae won Gimpo FC 2. Only 1,392 people were at that game. It was the smallest crowd at the weekend. 123 people made the long treks, about 450 kilometers one way from Gimpo to Gimhae. A very long journey. It was the weekend that saw several long trips made. Seoul E-Land taking the visit to Gwangyang, and Paju, an enormous trip for Paju to go to Busan, as far away as you could possibly get on mainland Korea. I've never been to Gimhae. The stadium looks quite nice, even though it has a running track. It's a really nice part of Korea, and Luan's goal was absolutely spectacular. I've never seen Gimhae at all. I'm planning to go watch them this Friday for the first time. But yeah, that's Gimpo's final match on the road for a long time. They played 13 away, and they've stayed in the playoff hunt despite all that. So Luan's great winner. Never been to Gimhae. Would have been a new stadium. That's where I'd like to have been. We got to wrap this one up very soon, guys. Let's have a quick chat about Chadori, as I was saying. Actually, the reason I wanted to bring this up was in relation to Lee Jong-hyo as well. So bit of context first. Hwasong are up to 4th, as the lads were saying, just with the break coming up, and they face the team directly above them, the Suwon Blue Wings, in the next round. Just 1 point separating Hwasong from Suwon. They haven't lost since April the 4th. That's 8 matches ago. Last season they finished 10th. Their squad is the 9th most valuable in K-League 2. It's similar in value to the likes of Yongin FC and Cheongbuk Cheongju FC, who are both terrible. Cheongju, as we said, have even managed a win at this point. And yet Chaduri, the legendary Chaduri, on the eve of the World Cup, has Hwasong FC in 4th, and they could be 3rd or even 2nd going into the World Cup break. I think we can all agree that Chaduri is doing a magnificent job at Hwasong. There was speculation before that his next job was going to be FC Seoul. So I guess the question is, do you think a job like that is good for Chaduri if he were to leave Hwasong in the summer and stay in Korea? What type of move do you think he should look for? For example, a club with big expectations, a smaller club, the opportunity to grow somewhere else, a struggling big club like the Blue Wings, lots of city clubs, some of those corporate-owned clubs, etc. And then secondly, one-word answer only, if you could see him moving anywhere in the winter, where do you think the best spot would be for him? Luke, I'll let you go first.
I think before he goes to a job like Seoul, he needs to take sort of a job in the bottom half of K-League 1. I do think he needs some K-League 1 experience. He's not been a manager for very long. He's done wonderful things at Hwasong. They were really good last year, as we've mentioned, when they played against Blue Wings and Incheon. And this year they've been growing into this confidence that they've got now. I think a lower K-League 1 team would be good for him. I mean, if I was to choose one club that he could join and do a good job, not necessarily where I think he'll go, but what could be good for him, it would be a team like Anyang. I think there's a lot of potential at Anyang, and I think he could be a manager that realises it for them.
Any thoughts on this, Mike? Where do you think a good fit would be for Chaduri? And finally, if you could see him moving to any club, if Hwasong don't get promoted and he is on the move, where could you see him showing up next winter?
Sensibly, those Anyang Bucheon choices that Luke's alluded to there, although the managers are doing a pretty good job, so it'd be very harsh on them to remove them. But
no, I agree.
I was just thinking, actually, what about going to a club where he's already got some, remember that confidence advert he did after the World Cup? And he's already got a green cape, and we already have these green and white stripes, so we'll have that Celtic memory. And also, a lot of good players have come to Wansan and failed as managers. So I'm reaching out, Mr. Cha, come over and actually prove yourself properly. None of this Hwasong stuff. Just come over and let's see if you can do it.
He wouldn't have to move house either.
No, indeed. And he wouldn't have to walk 5 miles to get to the side of the pitch from the dugout.
That's true.
I think the one name that jumped off the table for me was Anyang as well, and it's because of you said the potential, but I also there's a bit of that kind of raw dog about them as well that I think he would really buy into. The club the fan base that feels it was massively let down or had the heart of the city ripped out of it a while ago. I think that's the type of thing that he could really get his teeth into, as they say. Whereas if he went to a club like Gangwon, as good as they are and as often as they punch above their weight, I just don't think they have that history behind them that maybe Anyang do. And even though he's a former Seoul player, you see these type of things before where managers will return to they'll manage against a club that they once played for, and you could see him getting really stuck into it. I think a situation like that. The problem for that would be, from an Anyang point of view, is if the next step was Seoul, to leave Anyang potentially successfully move to Seoul would be absolutely crushing for them. Mike made the point about the manager situation. Yeah, the thing is about Yu Byung-hoon, he seems like another guy who might move on. That he looks like he's the potential to manage at a higher level. But again, the reason why I brought this up as well is because I think, I'm not saying that Lee Jong-ho made the wrong decision to go into the Blue Wings, and even though they are in K-League 2, and they're struggling in K-League 2, but there's still a massive amount of expectations on a manager who spent most of his time as an assistant manager and has only actually been a manager for a few seasons. So I think for Chaduri, yes, a stepping stone club would be good. Anyang mightn't like that, but they feel like the classic stepping stone. And I have all of those also ran teams, shall we say, in K-League 1. If you can get about 11,000 people at a game, and you have a couple of teams you really hate that are in the division, and you're wearing the misery of what happened when FC Seoul left, or the club left to become FC Seoul, I think that's the type of thing he could definitely buy into. Anyway, I think that's us done for the week. There was some news about changing away seat allocations, which is really interesting for K-League 1, hopefully K-League 2 in the future. We've definitely talked about this before. They made a mess of the away fan section in Korean football. So Luke has promised us an article on site at some point over the World Cup about that. So stay tuned to that. Below the 38, below38korea.com is our website. You can follow us on all forms of social media at Below the 38. I'm Andrew. This is Mike. Luke, thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you for one more round of Below the 38, the weekend that was before the World Cup next week. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.